sights of Sydney, and guess who I bumped into, and he's been very, very nice and agreeable to have a quick chat on the sidelines. TS SinghDeo ji, the Chhattisgarh Health Minister, is with us. Thank you very much, sir. Pleasure and a very pleasant surprise to see you here.
It's great being here. We are here with the delegation of the Health Department from Chhattisgarh. We are interacting with some of the institutions here. We interacted with the Gold Coast University. Yesterday we had an interaction with the local university here in Sydney. Today with the George Institute. In Melbourne we have another meeting, another interaction. And on the 29th we have an interaction with the New Zealand government in Auckland. So basically we are trying to see what they are doing in health here. We have similar populations, though the economic levels are very different. They are a developed country, we are a developing country. So the availability of funds is what sets us apart. Otherwise skills, our doctors are as good, if not, I wouldn't say better, but we are there. There are no issues. Research, they have more. They tend to put in more time and effort in research. So that is what we want to pick up on. So whether it is in nutrition, whether it was in non-invasive brain surgery, whether it is in trauma, whether it is in diabetes. So we are talking to them on all these issues and how we can relate. We signed an MOU also with an organization. So they have their Indian counterpart there, subject to clearance from the Government of India. There are a few formalities, I believe. So that will also come into operation. So food habits, nutrition in general, its impact on the health of the people, their longevity, as well as their productivity in life, infant mortality, maternal mortality, all these things get linked up with let us say nutrition.
Health and education also are context or perhaps contours of conversations within the bilateral engagement which has happened. Prime Minister Narendra Modi is here, I'm sure you're aware. The greater cooperation between the two nations, India and Australia. What more is possible? What are the possibilities if you were to look beyond the realm of just purely what is happening in Chhattisgarh, or from Chhattisgarh taking it on further into India? Where do you think greater collaboration can happen?
Technology. We have adopted the technology mission. We need to run fast on that. We are advanced in the world as far as the IT sector is concerned. And all these applications in our governance must come now rather than tomorrow or delayed tomorrow. So that is a challenge which we must take up immediately. It seems to be close to the heart of the Prime Minister too. It's a coincidence that we are here, a happy coincidence. We saw the welcome Modi helicopter.
But I didn't see you there at the Kurus Bank Arena.
That was, we wouldn't have been able to meet. And we were engaged with the prior commitments we had with the university, etc.
One aspect was both Labour and Liberal MPs from the Australian polity were there. So cutting across the aisle, there is this conversation and conscious acceptance that India-Australia equations need to work. And they seem to still engage despite being opposed to each other. Do you think that's possible in India?
It should always be so. It is the nation eventually, the people who we are working for. We are not working for ourselves, or we are not supposed to be working for ourselves, or even in a limited sense for our political parties. These political parties and us as individuals are agencies to work for the betterment of society, people at large, the nation together as an entity. And for that, these immature divisions should dissipate. They are immature, and they shouldn't be built up upon. They should dissipate, and whoever will be able to deliver at that point in time, people will support that combination.
You think you have like-minded peers and also counterparts?
I hope so. I hope so.
Well, thank you very much. It was a short but very engaging conversation. Thank you for your time, sir. Good to see you here.
Same here.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. So that's TS SinghDeo ji. I've caught him having a walk, going over to his next engagement here along the Sydney Harbour with the Opera House behind us, the Harbour Bridge to our right. Great sights, fantastic, but great conversation too. Thank you very much again.
Thank you.
Sir. Thank you. Rupesh, let me start with you and ask you, what are the possibilities? You've been in the education business, you've been in Australia for a long, long time. You are a permanent resident, if I remember correctly,
Yes.
but you still hold the Indian citizenship. So what's possible in the education sphere between India and Australia?
So, Anand, I've been in the industry for 20 odd years. I came as an international student myself, so I've gone through the experience. And after that, we have set up education institutes here. What has changed recently, especially with the new education policy, that now Australian universities or any other top 100 ranked universities are actually allowed to operate in India. So there is a lot of trade happening, especially in the gift city in Gujarat, where a couple of universities have signed up. We are actively involved in setting up some Australian university campuses there as well. So endless possibilities right now.
Right, but do you feel this gap of understanding of Australia or university, Gavin, where in India everybody thinks how much of land is the university is on? How spread out is it?
It is a little bit different, but when the students arrive, they realise that the most important thing is location. So they want to be in the city centre, they want to be where the work opportunities are, they want to be near transport links. So it's really important that we are able to offer them campus experiences that are close to where they live, where they work, and where they're going to have their social life as well when they're in Australia.
It's a different philosophy though, because there it's about residential schools, it's about far away from the madding crowd. We'll give you education where it's only about education. So it's a very different philosophy. So do you find it difficult to marry it?
Yeah, once people get their head around the difference, they really appreciate what we're offering, because it's a very intimate experience where we know the students by their names and they feel very much a part of a community, a support network. And that's really what we're able to offer them by having smaller, more intimate experiences for them.
From the mind of a student, Lauren, one of the first things is when I apply to a university is, are they going to give me a visa to continue to stay on after my graduation? What are the kind of jobs that I'm getting? What's going to be my starting salary? I'm going to sink in thousands, if not lakhs of dollars. So what are the chances?
Yeah, so it's that is a huge challenge for students. I mean, obviously, employability is a very important aspect, and I think at ECA we take it very seriously across the ECA group. So what we've seen really from data that we have in 2022 is that 6 out of 10 students have not found employment 4 months after graduation. And I think that is a very important aspect which all universities are looking to kind of work towards in Australia. There are challenges for students when they actually have to get out there and get jobs in place. But at this point in time, unemployment is very low at close to 3.7%. So there are opportunities there. But I think what employers are looking for is that specific set of skills that students can come in and hit the ground running. And I think that is what we're trying to work towards, sort of build those skills which students can get and actually hit the ground running.
Well, that's where I saved the best for last, because that young man there, he's developed a tool. It's called open learning. Adam, tell us about open learning and how does this entire aspect of upskilling or finding the gaps to increase your employability happen? I believe you're basing it on artificial intelligence, correct me if I'm wrong, and which also allows you to design curriculums or figure out gaps. So tell us how this works.
That's exactly right. So Open Learning is one of the world's largest online learning platforms with over 3.5 million students. And I founded the company actually out of university with some fellow students at the University of New South Wales. And we've built this platform to make it possible to increase access to higher quality education, because there's a lot of content out there in the world, and you can find things on YouTube, Wikipedia. But if you actually want to learn something, you have to work with other people, solve problems, do project-based learning activities, and all of that should lead towards a portfolio. And the portfolio is what you take to an employer to show you've learned something. So Open Learning has done this over the past 10 years, working with hundreds of universities and colleges around the world, enabling them to build really high-quality courses, and now doing that using generative AI to really lift the standard of education.
Adam platform is also a national platform in Malaysia. So all the public universities are on the platform, and they have trained actually 10,000 professors in Malaysia. And now we are launching this in India, where the agenda is basically the high quality curriculum, right? Because not everyone comes from the higher middle class family.
Correct.
So I had this vision that how do I train and educate lower middle class people. So with open learning platform we have got
It's a lovely evening sky here. Winter, the chill will start setting in even as the sun sets. I've got a lovely Sydney Harbour bridge right behind me. And this is the entire harbour. The ferry is coming in. It's beautiful. But my VJ Arpit would say that it's against light. So we'll show you another view. That's the Sydney Opera House. And this is just perfect setting to have a conversation with two gentlemen who are not only plying their wares in Australia for more than a decade, but they are eagerly willing to contribute to India. So that's a story of education with Rupesh Singh, and Manish is an IT professional. He's been here for more than 15 years. So we're going to look back at the last 2 days and what's changed for the Indian diaspora here in Australia and the India-Australia story in the last 24 to 48 hours. Did the headlines make a difference to you this morning? Manish, let me ask you that.
Yeah, it did make a big difference, and we are really proud of Mr. Modi. And I just want to share my story quickly. So yesterday, we had a big event at Olympic Park. So I was just getting ready, and my office colleagues out of nowhere called me, and they were like, "Oh, you took a half day today. So what's going on? Are you going to the Mr. Modi's event?" I said, "How do you know?" And they said, "It's a big news everywhere." And I was like, "Yes, I am going," and I felt really proud about it. So his presence made a big difference in Australia, and I think his motto is mutual respect, as he said yesterday, and mutual understanding. So that makes a lot of difference to us, and we are really proud of him. If people in Australia are talking about him, whether I am attending or not, then it's a big deal. And they were like, "You are so lucky that you're going to that event. We wish we could have gone there too." So that was like a carnival for us yesterday. It was an amazing experience for me, and it's once in a lifetime, I guess, for me. So it was really amazing. And
what stood out for you from the Prime Minister's message yesterday? Did his energy stand out, or the way his messaging was in terms of facts, mutual respect? He talked about CDE, the 3 M's, and then he was doing a quiz like the facts. You know, he was also pushing the India story. Did that make a difference, and how?
I believe he's a great communicator. Whatever he does, he tells people in a really amazing way. He didn't miss anything at all. I was thinking, how can he remember every single bit? How many places we are number 1, where we are number 2, and where we are number 3, and it was all in his head. And I have learned a lot from him, that you should have a really good memory.
He's in the education sector, and Rupesh, I have to thank you for helping me around and find my way, navigate my way in Sydney over the last 72 hours. So special thanks to you for that. But what's changed in the last 48 hours? Because you've been watching this very carefully.
Yeah, so Anand, first of all, thank you. It's been a pleasure to actually look after you and assist you in any way. You've been a great company. But I tell you, I've been here 25 years, and mainly in education. But after 2014 visit from Prime Minister Modi, a lot has changed. You know, the feeling we used to have, you know, as an Indian, yes, we are from developing country, there are cows on the road, there is traffic, etc., etc. No one talks like that anymore.
So, आपको क्या लगता है, what more needs to be done? As an Australian with roots in India, what would you like India to do?
Yeah, I think what I have seen, especially after bilateral agreement has been signed, that there is significant visits are happening between two countries, right? Which is ministers are coming, business people are coming, we are being approached all the time. Our partner universities in Australia, they want to do more, which was not the case in the past because the policies were not clear. India has one of the big young generations. So 20 million people turning 18 every year, right? So that means they need to be trained, they need to be skilled. And then Australian universities can play a major role. So I guess what I am working with Australian universities, not to try to just sell a $20,000 course there, but also assist Indian universities in terms of curriculum sharing, in terms of training the professors and lecturers, so we can actually scale and assist India. So that, it is two-way partnership. Otherwise what happens is we get thousands of Indian students. And Indian universities also see, oh, look, no, you're here just to grab our student. So I guess what we are educating to our university partners is let's have a two-way partnership. We get thousands of students. Let's give back something in return.
The recent issues of vandalism which have happened, recent issues of bigotry, hate which has happened, some kind of messaging which is secessionist. Prime Minister talked about Algawad. The reassurance that's come from Prime Minister Albanese, how much of that is it going to enthuse the diaspora, or would you see more action rather than talk? What do you want to see?
Yeah, look, what we like to see is definitely what happened in UK. We don't want
here at all. So we want Australian government to be proactive and engage with Indian communities and understand these issues really in detail. And they can see what's going to happen so that they can have things in place so it doesn't happen, because these little things, look, I have to say Australia is a pretty safe country. You can have a peaceful protest.